Today in the Smart Wood Shop, we're going to take a look at the True Position Cabinet Hardware Install Tool. I'm Ron Paulk, and this is the Smart Wood Shop. If you want to get a detailed set of plans to build the Smart Wood Shop for yourself or one of the smart workbenches, there's a link in the description of this video down below. True Position Tools sent this to me thinking it'd be the perfect addition to the Smart Wood Shop, and I agree 100%. In fact, I'm even going to say that this is the best hardware install tool that I've ever worked with. You might say, but they just sent it to you. When have you had a chance to use it? Well, this True Position cabinet hardware install tool, I have had this for well more than 20 years. I picked this up at a woodworker show in Seattle, 24. It's well over 20 years. In fact, I purchased this from the founder, the guy who invented these. This tool is time tested. I have installed hardware on thousands of cabinets over the decades. I had a couple of other tools that I bought actually after this one that I thought might even be better, but they sat on the shelf. I just didn't use them, tried them a couple of times and went back to this one. I had a couple of Finnish crews working for me, had a couple of trailers, and even though I had multiple trailers and I had multiple different tools to install cabinet hardware, we even made up some tools out of plywood. This floated. I was always chasing this one around. I like to keep it in the primary trailer that I worked out of, but my crews they preferred this one as well. So whichever crew was on cabinet install, they'd go find it from whatever trailer it was in and take it with them. A tape measure and a pencil can do the job, but you, as the cabinet installer, have to make every single mark in the exact location and drill it perfectly every time. You know that cabinet doors and drawers, the faces, are very expensive. And if you misdrill one, a homeowner having just paid for these beautiful brand new cabinets is not going to accept a little wood filler. So you're going to end up ordering a new door. Having a tool like this eliminates that error. Of course, like any precision tool, you have to set it up and get it dialed in just right. But once you know that it's accurate, you can then go from drawer to drawer and door to door and get the exact drill pattern every time. Let's take a look at how to use it. So here on my bench is a typical kitchen cabinet base, a 2-door, 1/6-inch drawer setup. And I'm going to install hardware that's a 2-hole, a little more complicated. The single ones obviously are a lot easier, and this jig does those excellent as well. With these, I'm going to want to make sure that the handle is spaced properly from the top of the door and also spaced in as well. And then once I have it set up for that, I'm going to want to make sure that every single door is exactly the same. With these long, straight handles, when you get off just a little bit, it really shows up. The True Position jig won't tell you where to install the hardware. You still have to use your professional judgment for that. So in my case here, with this type of handle, I know that I need to put one on each door. If I were doing a raised panel or a recessed panel with stile and rail, it'd be pretty easy to decide where to put it in from the edge. I would center it in the stile. In this case though, it's a flat panel. I'm going to go ahead and still use about those same dimensions that I would do with a recessed panel or with a rail. So typically those are somewhere around 2.5 inches or about around 64 millimeters. So I'd center it in that. So I'm going to take a look at that on this one and go, if half of that of course would be 32. I love the number 32. I look at the spacing from the edge and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go 32 millimeters in from the edge to place this on the door. And then as far as how far down to place it, This would be a lot easier on the cabinet because it'd be in front of me and I could measure and look at it. First thing I want to do is, I like making things easier. So I'm going to see how 32 looks down from the top. Now I'm not going and looking at the hole at this point. I'm looking at the top of the handle because I'm 32 millimeters in from the edge. And does that symmetry with 32-32 look good? And in fact, it does. I knew it would because I use those numbers pretty much all the time. So I have 32-32, but that's not where the hole be drilled 32 in from the edge, but down from the top, because there's an offset from the top to where the hole's going to be drilled. I'm going to take a look at that 32 and measure down to the center, and that puts the hole at 50 millimeters. I'm using millimeters, by the way, because that's the way I do all my cabinetry. The True Position tool has on it both inches and millimeters, so you use whatever measuring system you're comfortable with. First, I'll set the drilling blocks so that they're aligned with the holes that I need to drill for the handle that I'm using. I can use a ruler and just measure the distance between the holes. These blocks are mirrored. We start at 0 in the middle, so I can just take each block and move it over half that distance, and then I would just match that on the other side. But in my case, I always like to set it up. I know once I set it up, I'm going to be drilling lots of doors and drawers, so I'll just actually take the handle and put it on the jig. And then once it's on there, then all I'll do is loosen up the knobs for the blocks here and move them until they're both on the identical number. And I'll lock them down really tight to make sure they don't move. So now I know that when I drill these holes, it's going to fit. From the edge to the center line of the holes, I'm going to be 32 millimeters. I'll move this scale with the whole center line set up and the spacing set up. The next thing I want to do is set the distance from the top of the door down to where the first hole is. Since the 0 mark is on the center here, and I know that I am 50 millimeters from the center to there, what I want to do is take my dimension that I want from the top to the first hole, which in my case is also 50 millimeters, and I will set the stop at 100 millimeters, the 50 plus the 50. The tool is all set up and I'm ready to drill, but I always take one additional step just to be sure before I drill the first door or drawer. I'll take a piece of scrap. There's a 5 millimeter bit included with the tool. I'll check my dimensions so I know the holes are right as far as their positioning. I'm going to also check and make sure that the handle fits. Looks good, it's nice and straight. Set down from the top just where I want it. Perfect. Now I'm ready to drill the doors and drawers. Couple of pro tips. You want to make sure that you drill the holes on the right side of the door. You'll have these cabinets installed and you have lots of doors, and it's sometimes pretty easy to confuse which way a door is open when you have two cabinets coming together. Just make sure you open the door and place the jig on the proper side. There is a center hole. This is a hole I'd use if I were doing poles, just single holes. I don't want to accidentally drill into that, so I'll just take a piece of tape and put it over that hole. Believe me, no matter how much experience you have and how many times you've done it, you get to moving really fast and you can screw up. So in the field, I would open the door and then open the door right next to it. And the beauty of this, it's reversible. So now all I have to do is turn it over and the holes are in the exact same position, centered and down from the top. I'm going to use it on the base cabinet doors as well as the upper doors. I'm already set up for that. I don't need to change anything. So you can imagine if this were an upper door, we're going to be measuring from the bottom up. So on the lower doors, it's from the top down. Well, if this were mounted up on the upper cabinet, then we'd be doing the exact same dimension from the bottom up and the edge in. So just like before, this would go up and I'd be able to open the door, make the holes, and then take the door right next to it, open it up, flip this over, and drill those holes. If I'm using the same handles on all of the doors, this one setup is going to be one and done. And just continue on until all of your doors are drilled. Now it's time to drill the drawers. Again, you have to use your professional judgment. These are panels, and I can go to the center. Oftentimes you'll have a narrower drawer and then deeper drawers. What I like to do is have the handle the same distance down from the top on every drawer rather than centering it on every drawer. I like the look of that. I think it looks better. So in this case, I am going to stick with my 32 and then center it side to side on the drawer. I already have it set up for 32. I already have it set up for this handle. What I have always done in the field is measure the width of the drawer, and then because I'm working on finished doors and drawers, I don't like to put a pencil mark on them, so I will find approximate center. I'd go around and put the tape on all the drawers and then go back with my tape measure and make a center mark. After I went around and marked center on all my drawers, then I'll take the jig and remove the stop, and there is a center marker on the jig, and I'll just put that on right on my line and then do every drawer the same way. After all the holes are drilled exactly where they need to be, then you go around and install your hardware and stand back and admire your handiwork. The tool that True Position just sent me has an additional feature that mine did not have. There is an extension that attaches to this, and then I don't need to go and find the center mark on the drawer. I can actually use the offset just the way we did on the door itself. To set this up, there's a double bracket that slides onto the T-square, and I'll put that on and lock it in at 5 inches. I will also slide in, and there is a 5-inch mark. So we're just lining that up. Now it's extended, and I can use the same stop. I'll check the overall dimension of the drawer. So I want half of that number because we're going from the middle, from 0 out. And it looks like I did a pretty good job before because the holes are in the exact same spot. If you enjoy these tool review videos and you'd like to see me make more, then be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you want to join the Smart Woodshop family, subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know when I put up a new video. Thanks for dropping into the Smart Woodshop. You stay safe and have a great day.